From the broadcast center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hello and welcome to the new newscast. I'm Kevin Pontius. Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke will be announcing an update of the future of the police force in Surrey today. Locke has long been an advocate for keeping the RCMP as the police of jurisdiction in Surrey and says she has no intention of a police transition. The announcement is coming after Public Safety Minister Mike Farnworth replaced the city's police board with a newly appointed administrator last week. Rogers communication workers in Metro Vancouver have reached an agreement with the company Friday evening. Our own Nathan Maley has the update.
After months of negotiating with the United Steelworkers Union, Rogers Communication will be getting back nearly 300 technicians. The former Shaw workers will vote to ratify the agreement today with the hopes of returning to work Wednesday. Workers were locked out shortly after their union issued a strike notice to the company in late September. The agreement comes on the heels of NDP party leader Jagmeet Singh and Vancouver East MP Jenny Kwan joining the picket line Saturday. The former Shaw workers support home and business for internet, phone, and TV services in the Metro Vancouver area. Nathan Maley, 1680, The Crow.
Many trans and non-binary people, along with allies, are gathering Monday to mark the annual Worldwide Transgender Day of Remembrance. The occasion was founded by a small group 14 years ago to remember the deaths of two women named Rita Hester and Chanel Pickett, who were killed in Massachusetts for simply being transgender. British Columbia is one of the first provinces to amend provincial laws to remove outdated gendered and binary language, and one of the first to make it possible for people to get birth certificates without gender markers. Another poultry farm in Chilliwack has been added to the list of affected facilities due to an avian flu outbreak in British Columbia. This is the sixth facility in the Lower Mainland to be put under quarantine this week. The virus has also been detected in non-commercial flocks in a few regions on the north side of Vancouver Island. Gasoline prices might be coming down this holiday season. Our reporter Sean Park gives an update on what could be cheerful holiday news.
Drivers around BC who are willing to travel all the way to Langley to save gas prices can find themselves as low as $1.68 a liter, according to GasBuddy.com, a gas tracking site. Natural Resources Canada says that the average gas price in Vancouver is $1.83 a liter, making it almost 15 cents more expensive than the cheapest price shown on the tracking site. British Columbia has one of the highest gas prices in Canada, higher by around 35 cents a liter, according to the Canadian Automobile Association. They also say that the last year's average national gas price was $1.58 a liter. Sean Park, 1680, The Crow.
Sean Park is here with us live. Sean, how are you?
Hi, Kevin. I'm doing great. Yeah.
Excellent. So, Sean, what are the average gas prices?
Well, I can tell you that the statistics released by the Canadian Automobile Association say that the national average gasoline prices in Canada is at $1.48 a liter.
And where can people go to find cheaper gas prices?
Well, there are many different ways to compare gas prices, but the simplest and the most straightforward way is to use like a price tracking website. A lot of users say that it's really handy as they compare and show the user the list of every gas station nearby and compare them with different prices, and they can figure out which one's cheaper. Back to you, Kevin.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sean. Appreciate it. Data collected by Shopify says 80% of shoppers want more quality out of their products. Nareh Ahmed of the Canadian Press has more.
Of the 2,000 Canadian shoppers surveyed in September, almost 80% say they want higher quality products that will last for a long time. Shopify's data shows the average Canadian consumer plans to spend $291 this Black Friday and Cyber Monday. But Deloitte says spending across the entire holiday season will average about $1,300 this year, down 11% from last year. It attributes the drop to shoppers splurging less as the cost of living remains high. Naira Ahmed, The Canadian Press.
2 years ago, a coastal park in Vancouver experienced one of its most surprising renovations to date. A deep-sea barge drifted loose due to an atmospheric river, causing it to crash into the mainland, lodging itself for nearly a year. Last night, another shipping container broke loose from its buoy and started floating towards the shore. Fortunately, a tugboat was able to reach the vessel before it was able to find a new home in English Bay. Concerns are rising over plans by Nexstar Energy Inc. to bring in foreign workers to help build a battery plant in Windsor, Ontario, which is being supported by an expected $15 in public funding. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre speaks at a news conference in the foyer of the House of Commons on Parliament Hill in Ottawa.
I love South Korea. Wonderful country. But they don't fund jobs for Canadians, and we shouldn't fund jobs for their workers. Our money should fund our paychecks. Bring it home.
Over to international news now. The conflict on the Gaza Strip rages on as the Israeli Defense Force continues its ground invasion. ABC's Patrick Reevell gives an update on the conditions of the hospital.
The situation in Gaza's hospitals is nightmarish. I think the world's focus has been on Al-Shifa Hospital, which is Gaza's largest. The IDF went in about 6 days ago. They say under Al-Shifa is a Hamas headquarters and that it is a hub for Hamas activity. And they've just released a video showing a drone flying into what they say is a Hamas tunnel in the grounds of the hospital. And they are basically saying they're finding more and more proof that there is indeed Hamas infrastructure under the hospital and that it is a headquarters.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine rages on with United States Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin arriving in Ukraine last night. Austin gave his comments on what he believes is important for success on the battlefield.
I wanted to reassure the leadership that the United States of America will continue to support Ukraine. And so, you know, we talked about the things that we're going to continue to do to make sure that they have what they need to be successful on the battlefield.
Researchers say more caution is needed to protect the healthcare sector from cyber attacks. Reporter Don Kelly has more.
An article in today's edition of the Canadian Medical Association Journal by doctors who are experts in the use of technology in healthcare says healthcare organizations should train staff to recognize phishing attempts and respond quickly so patient care is not interrupted. Cyber attacks steal personal data, down computer networks, and can close surgeries and other procedures, potentially costing millions if a ransom is paid out. The authors say about 16 separate cyber attacks have happened at health organizations across the country since 2015. Not all of them have been reported, though. Don Kelly, The Canadian Press.
Controversial tech figure Sam Altman has been ousted by OpenAI and immediately hired by Microsoft today. Julie Walker of the Associate Press has the story.
Sam Altman was ousted from startup OpenAI late Friday. In response, one of the other founders and president, Greg Brockman, stepped down as well. They were both snapped up by Microsoft to lead the company's new advanced AI research team. Microsoft has been an investor in OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, which produces human-like text, images, video, and music. Microsoft's CEO says that's not changing. Meanwhile, former Twitch leader Emmett Shear takes over as OpenAI's interim CEO and is vowing to investigate Altman's firing. I'm Julie Walker.
United States President Joe Biden spent his 81st birthday giving a Thanksgiving holiday speech.
The National Turkey presentation and pardon marks the unofficial start of the holiday season. We're here in Washington, a time to share joy and gratitude and have a little bit of fun. This is the 76th anniversary of this event. And I want you to know I wasn't there in the first one. I was too young to make it up.
Over to sports now. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers were defeated by the Montreal Alouettes 28-24. The game came down to the last play and was the most exciting in years. The stadium held 20,000 fans at Tim Hortons Field. Legendary band Green Day performed at halftime with lead singer Billie Joe Armstrong appearing completely ageless. Of the 9 matches that took place on the hardcourt last night, the Suns and the Jazz overtime thriller was certainly the most exciting.
45 seconds left in double OT. It's Allen open for 3. He gets it from the left side. Grayson.
Trust your teammates. Devin Booker
He set it up. Allen knocked it down. 14 on the night for Grayson, and the Suns are back up 3, 138, 135, 35 seconds to go.
The other notable games were LeBron James' Lakers barely hanging on with a 105-104 victory over the Rockets, as well as the absolute bludgeoning the Oklahoma City Thunder put on the Portland Trailblazers. Over to hockey, the Vancouver Canucks hope to continue a dominant season tonight against the lowly San Jose Sharks. The team sports a record of 12-5-1 and is off to the best start in over a decade. In combat sports news, the Ultimate Fighting Championship's number one rival Bellator has been sold today. The Professional Fighters League, or PFL, has obtained the company, providing even less competition to the UFC's monopoly. PFL founder Don Davis told MMA Fighting's Ariel Helwani today that the Bellator brand will be completely absorbed under the PFL banner. They hope to mix Bellator's top talent to make their product as strong as possible in order to contend with the UFC. The weather is currently at 7 degrees with a high of 10 and low of 4. You can expect mostly clouds throughout the day with a small chance of rain. Throughout the week, we should mostly be experiencing clouds with little sun. There is some concerns that we will see some freezing rain as Thursday the temperature is expected to drop below 0. I'm Kevin Pontius for 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Hockey is a dangerous game, and due to a recent tragedy that has shaken the hockey world, we have been forced to take a deeper look at league safety at all levels.
Adam Johnson was a 29-year-old ice hockey player who had played in the NHL. And on October 28, 2023, in an English Elite League or EIHL match, he would have his throat cut in a tragic accident on the ice, which led to his tragic death. And in the weeks since, the incident has caused many leagues all around the world to mandate neck guards for all players.
The EIHL, minor hockey associations around the country, adult hockey, the WHL, and all other forms of junior hockey in Canada, except the PGHL, the VIJHL, and the KIJHL, and the BCHL, have all mandated neck guards be worn by their players. Welcome back to 1680 The Crow. I'm Liam Higgs. Today, me and my partner Chris Koo will be discussing the safety changes throughout the years in hockey and why some leagues still have yet to mandate neck guards. Brian Weeb, general manager of the Port Moody Panthers in the PGHL, told us about how his team responded to the tragedy.
I mean, it's a tragic situation, what happened with Adam Johnson, and I know that it was a talking point among our players, and I would imagine the same for players around the league. Like, we mandated that players that wear the neck guards. Although, that being said, we're very aware of the equipment supply chain issues. And so it's not something that it's like, well, you're not going to be able to play if you don't have one. But the fact is, we want all of our players to wear them.
Now, you may think it's as simple as going to your local sports equipment store and buying neck guards for all your players. But there may be a logistical issue that is slowing leagues down, as Jared Ellison, a manager from Cycle Taylor, explains.
The only issue would be if there's a high volume of sales in a small period of time. Having Bauer and CCM provide the stuff right away, that's the problem.
However, how serious is this problem, and is it a good excuse to not mandate a potentially life-saving piece of equipment?
As of right now, no.
Right.
But it can be if the demand is tripled when it's, or not even times 10 in a very small period of time.
And believe me, the demand for neck guards is high.
We asked Jared if there has been more demand recently and what the demand for neck guards looked like before what happened to Adam Johnson.
In some capacity, yes, it's not specifically neck guard, but neck protection, period. Right. Not for adults. Kids are usually required to have neck guards, so that didn't change.
Right.
But I think the adults community is a little more cautious now.
I know that as a team, we talked about the fact that once this idea was going to catch fire in the hockey community as a whole across Canada and around the world, that there would likely be a run on neck guards, and the manufacturers may not be able to keep up with the volume of teams and leagues that would be wanting to get this piece of equipment.
With the demand for neck guards on the rise because of teams and in some cases whole leagues needing neck guards for 25-plus players ASAP, how is it for the parents of those young junior hockey kids?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of surprised they're not wearing them. They're wearing full face shields. You would think they would wear them. I mean, yeah, I think it makes sense at this level. I mean, not that it's a fully recreational league, it's still junior hockey, but at the end of the day, I mean, safety is probably more important than being a little bit uncomfortable.
Adult neck guards currently go anywhere from $20 to $30, which can be quite expensive, especially when you factor the amount of players on a team that need to be accounted for.
The discussion of mandated neck guards has been around since the age of dinosaurs, but many believe that the PJHL and Pacific are coming close to making the right decision. The coach and general manager of the Grandview Steelers, Bruno Aldo, talks a bit about what may be happening around the league.
There is some discussion happening right now between the league. I think it will happen, but at what point, I don't know.
There are other problems than that, one of which we heard from the parents earlier, and that's just some people find neck guards uncomfortable to wear. However, there could be more of an issue than just logistics and comfort. Brian Weebs shed some light to why more players don't already wear neck guards if it is an option.
There's a bit of a machismo attitude, but I also know that there is still this act of bravado, and you're not a true hockey player if you're protecting yourself as best as possible, and stuff like that, which is false. Just a comfort level. Like every new piece of equipment that you haven't used before takes an adjustment, and that adjustment eventually comes, but it might come at too slow of a pace for a player that's not used to wearing a neck guard. All of a sudden either wants to and has to get used to it, or has to and then gets used to it.
Though Mr. Weeb and others believe that the changes are for the best and are coming soon.
We want to do the best we can to protect our players. It's probably something that should have been in place a long time ago, to be honest. But now it's better late than never. I wouldn't be surprised to see the BCHL go that way as well. I wouldn't even be surprised if Hockey Canada came forward and said every player under a certain age level, which will probably be U18, I would think, will have to wear a neck guard. I think from a governing body of the sport in the country, that Hockey Canada will eventually come to that, although I don't anticipate that happening until 24-25 at the earliest, because it'll come after Hockey Canada's Congress next spring.
Coach Aldo also decided to share his thoughts on if the changes were good and if they were coming soon.
Some teams are waiting to hear what the league's thinking is and what side. So I'm pretty confident that something will come down pretty quick. Like I said, through minor hockey, they've had to wear one right up to they get to junior. So I really don't see the reason why they had to take it off. But to me, it's something they're used to playing. Why not keep it on?
Discussions on the mandates have been rampant in all leagues since October 28th. However, some leagues are still in limbo whether or not they can or should mandate neck guards. However, with plenty of leagues having already mandated neck guards some for years now, it could be hard to argue against the mandates.
I could see it happening where it did with helmets. Like there was a grandfathering rule in helmets. Like Craig McTavish didn't play with a helmet, and I think 1997 was when he finally retired.
Coach Aldo makes a really good point. Neck guards have been mandatory in minor hockey associations for a long time now. So why do they take them off as they get older?
It comes back to what Mr. Weep said earlier. The whole macho man attitude that surrounds hockey has been in sports since the beginning. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon.
The problem you will run into is when the tough guy look gets in the way of being safe. The attitude you will get from people inside the hockey world, especially the old guard, is protecting yourself to the best of your ability is seen as being soft or not tough, which for obvious reasons can lead to very bad outcome. This mentality is all around the sport of hockey. From the NHL to Little League, there will always be discussions on what's needed and what's not for the sport. Once upon a time, players, including goalies, were not required to wear masks, which of course is ridiculous to think about by today's standards. Helmets for players, in fact, were not mandatory until the 1979-1980 season. And in fact, the first goalie to ever wear a mask was Jacques Plante, who was ridiculed for wearing a mask after being struck in the face with a puck. Mr. Weeb shares some of his thoughts on how the changes might look similar to how safety changes have worked in the past.
I think that it's hard for a player or a parent to argue against it when you look at, in major junior hockey, it's been mandated in the OJHL or the OHL and the Quebec Major Junior League for years, like more than a decade. And then the Western Hockey League just recently put it in. I think it's coming in the National Hockey League.
The PGHL sibling leagues, the KIJHL and the VIJHL, have already started to mandate neck guards across their teams.
Unfortunately, with the logistical issues and other issues in the sport of hockey, it is still unclear if and when the PJHL and the BCHL will be mandating neck guards.
Thanks for joining us today to talk about some hockey on 1680 The Crow podcast. I'm Liam Higgs.
And I'm Chris Koo. We hope to see you next time.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon. You're listening to 1680 The Crow. I'm Caitlin O, and here's your 12:30 p.m. news. Surrey's Mayor Brenda Locke says the city will mount a constitutional challenge to the province's decision to appoint an administrator to take over the police board and oversee the transition to a municipal police force.
I just want the residents of Surrey to have fair taxation policies. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our residents, that we are not seeing the kind of increases. I fully understand the frustration with the public. I absolutely am frustrated myself.
Locke made the announcement in a news conference this morning and says the city is filing an additional petition in court that will outline where they are moving to. This comes days after the province suspended the Surrey Police Board over its lack of action in transitioning to a civic police force. There are many events happening throughout the day today around the Lower Mainland to mark the Transgender Day of Remembrance. Many trans, non-binary people and allies are gathering to honor community members lost. Various rallies and candlelight vigils are taking place in Abbotsford, Burnaby, UBC, and the Vancouver Art Gallery. A member of the organizing committee for the vigil taking place at the Art Gallery says her group is intentionally hosting a public event to raise awareness that trans people are still facing violence and some are being killed. Premier David Eby also released a statement this morning saying the province is recommitting to ending transphobia in the province. Rogers Communication has reached a tentative agreement with striking Metro Vancouver technicians. With more on the agreement, here's our reporter Nathan Maley.
After months of negotiating with the United Steelworkers Union, Rogers Communication will be getting back nearly 300 technicians. The former Shaw workers will vote to ratify the agreement today with the hopes of returning to work Wednesday. Workers were locked out shortly after their union issued a strike notice to the company in late September. The agreement comes on the heels of NDP party leader Jagmeet Singh and Vancouver East MP Jenny Kwan joining the picket line Saturday. The former Shaw workers support home and business for internet, phone, and TV services in the Metro Vancouver area. Nathan Maley, 1680, The Crow.
A legal challenge to stop a social housing project in the Kitsilano area has been dismissed by the BC Supreme Court. This comes after the province passed Bill 26 in April, making it easier for the city of Vancouver to move forward with a 129-unit social housing building at Arbutus and West 7th. The legislation is meant to streamline local government's development approval processes. Shortly after the bill was passed, the Kitsilano Coalition for Children and Family Safety Society requested a judicial review. The group claims the bill is unconstitutional and deprives Vancouver residents of the right to challenge the legality of the city's actions. Another case of avian flu is confirmed in BC. A poultry farm in Chilliwack has been added as the sixth facility in the Lower Mainland to be put under quarantine in the last several days. The growing list of facilities impacted by the avian flu in BC include flocks in the Thompson-Nicola Regional District, Qualicum Beach, and parts of northern Vancouver Island and Central Coast. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says nearly 5 million birds have had to be put down since the first case occurred in April last year. The province of BC has been the most heavily impacted by the virus in Canada. The federal government has created a new tourism growth program to support small businesses and nonprofit organizations to bring tourists into Canada. The grant is supported by a pool of $108 million in funding for the span of 3 years. 15% of this fund will be set aside for the Indigenous tourism programs. And now for the weather, it's still partly cloudy in Burnaby. Currently, it's 9 degrees with temperatures rising to 10 later this afternoon. The sun will set today at 4:25 p.m. and temperatures will drop to 5 degrees overnight. That was your news to 12:30. I'm Caitlin No, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Microlink, connecting you with your BCIT community.
Hello everybody, my name is Tatiana Yakovleva and welcome to the first episode of Microlink for the fall term. I'm excited to be back. This episode has a lot in store for us. But first, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which BCIT's main campuses are located is the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the shared traditional territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and Squamish First Nations. To start us off, I sat down with Celine Loriot, the president of the Student Association, to talk about the new executive board, what their visions are, and what's next for us. Celine, why don't you introduce yourself?
So my name is Celine. I am the president of the BCIT SA and a nursing student at BCIT.
That's awesome. And with so many BCIT students, it's never just being a student. Everyone does so much, right?
Of course. I feel like there's a bit of something for everyone at BCIT.
Right. So let's start with a few students. Can you tell us something about the 2023-2024 executive team? What's the vibe? What's the energy? What are you guys bringing to the table?
So I feel so fortunate to be working with such an enthusiastic team. So please don't mind if I rave about some of them. Charlene, the chair of health sciences, is a fellow classmate, a nursing student like me. She's an avid runner and hiker. Also, she is pursuing her neonatal specialty. Shelby, the VP Equity and Sustainability, is an accounting student and has an appreciation for Shrek. Feel like a lot of us do.
That's my girl.
And her cat named Kevin. Simran, the chair of Business and Media, is an international student who has a bachelor's in French from India. Also, she keeps students safe as a security guard at BCIT. Abdul is studying architecture and building technology. He likes sports and cars, but only the fast ones. Justin is the chair of computing and academic studies. He is in the computer systems technology program and the voice of Raisin Crane in the Strawberry Shortcake series and volunteers at RAPS Cat Sanctuary in Richmond once a week. Daniel, the chair of specialized transport, is studying aircraft maintenance engineering. He is also serving Canada in the armed forces.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, very dedicated. Lastly, Jimmy, the VP External, is an electrical engineer student and a Lego connoisseur. I could go on about Mia, Rashank, Josh, and Matthew. And if I did, we'd probably be here for a couple hours.
That's fair. We did hear from Mia and Vershank and a lot of the returning execs already. If you haven't checked out the previous interviews, I strongly recommend to doing so. Well, Celine, enough about your team. I want to hear about you. What do you bring to the executive team as the president?
As I mentioned, I am a nursing student in my final year, so I've really honed how to stay calm under pressure and how to think critically. Before this role, I served as the BCIT SA Chair of Health Sciences, and based on that, I know how it feels to be new at the SA. Therefore, I really try my best to set up my executives for success by regularly checking in, acting as a soundboard for new ideas, and encouraging self-care in work-life balance. I firmly believe that the president should share power and leadership is best when it's collaborative. My priority is that students should feel seen, heard, and valued. It's not about being president that motivates me, it is serving the SA mandate of enhancing student life.
Can you briefly touch on what enhancing student life means to you?
So, enhancing student life is really listening to the students and delivering on what their current needs are. One of these mission projects that I'm working on is supporting students' mental health and awareness at BCIT. I plan on continuing with my Campus Convos events, which are mental health workshops with guest speakers shared over a meal at small round tables. This was actually a shared initiative with Josh Liu, the VP Student Experience that we started last year. So I'm definitely excited to continue with this initiative. Also, I want to boost student resilience and foster that sense of community by hosting more social events. I want to make BCIT more fun.
I personally root for paint night, so maybe you can make it happen one day.
For sure.
Okay, we got one vote in. Hopefully it'll get through. As a nursing student, what is the value of mental health? I'm sure you know that more than I do. So can you please briefly touch on that and the magnitude that it carries?
So I started my nursing studies in the peak of COVID.
Right.
And that was the strangest time of my life, right? Because instead of practicing in the community, we were practicing with simulation mannequins, right? So I think for me, mental health is so important because the pandemic made us more disconnected, right? And I think being a nursing student puts me in a unique position to really be in tune with what's going on around me in my environment and have a sense of what's going on for people and how I can really use my compassion to help others. Yeah, I think that's why mental health awareness, especially for students at BCIT, is so important to me.
Is that the main reason you got into nursing?
Yes, because I have had the privilege of growing up with lots of inspirational nurses. And I think just seeing the impact they had on their communities and, sure, no one is ever going to remember their names all the time, but people remember how they made them feel. And I think that is really what inspired me to get into nursing, because I want to have that kind of impact on someone. Make them know that I didn't give up, that, no matter what, I'm there for them.
I love the quote that it's more about how nurses make people feel, because in medical or mental health aspects, it's so vulnerable.
Yes.
And having a right attitude just makes the difference so much. But we'll stray away from that topic and we'll come back to the initiatives. Are there any other initiatives that your colleagues have been fostering that you're very excited about?
So I'm excited to work with Shelby Woida, the VP of Equity and Sustainability, to find ways to indigenize the organization. And we are thinking of doing this through consulting with elders on best practices, so we can move more in the direction of promoting reconciliation that is meaningful to us. We hope to achieve this through education and events in collaboration with community partners at BCIT. Mia Boo, the VP of Finance and Administration, plans on continuing her free tax clinic for students. It was very popular and successful last year. I think this is an excellent initiative, as tax time can be stressful for students, and it allows student volunteers to practice their tax skills. Vershank Prabhu, the chair of Energy, is leading the SETREP committee, which is focused on improving the SETREP program for everyone. And actually, many executives are interested in finding ways to just make it that better experience. And lastly, Justin Saint, the chair of Computing and Academic Studies, plans to continue hosting the annual QDS Hackathon, where teams work together to create solutions to an industry problem. And the winners get prizes and chances to connect with the judges, who are potential employers.
Ooh,
lots of fun stuff happening.
So you mentioned the tax clinic, correct? And I personally can vouch that I volunteered for it last year. Honestly, an amazing experience for those who go there and volunteer there as well. But speaking of taxes and the economy, as you know, that the current economy is not very favorable with the interest rates rising, and it has affected everyone. Currently, there was a referendum last year regarding finances. So how does BCIT Student Association operate in a deficit? And how do you choose your priorities when it comes to limited funds? Because everything has a limited fund. We cannot.
Of course.
Unfortunately, we would love to have unlimited funds, but that's not realistic. So how do you set your priorities in this situation?
It's true that we are in a deficit, and we have chosen not to cut back services to students. Hosting successful events requires thoughtful planning and buy-in from the team. Also, we have options to move funds around to support initiatives. For example, September is jam-packed with student-facing events that we started planning many months in advance. The execs will be present at the events, so please stop by and hang out with us. It'll be great.
Awesome. Well, can you give us a sneak peek of one of those events?
Oh, one of them, we plan on having a pub party where we'll have a DJ and we'll have meal specials. And yeah, I'm really excited just thinking about it.
And besides the social events and gatherings, what do you think that the students at BCIT need the most in this current time?
It isn't easy being a student. Affordability is huge. And we know students need to feel supported during their academic journey. And there are numerous negative impacts. from the rising cost of parking, housing, food, education, and textbooks. The list goes on. I see it every day with my classmates, many of whom have to work longer hours or take additional jobs just to make ends meet.
Right.
Additionally, mental health challenges continue to be prevalent, and no student should have to face this alone without adequate support. The SA is here to help, and will keep pushing BCIT and the government to step up even more.
And what does stepping up mean for you in this case?
So stepping up means really addressing these needs and being there for students. We opened a food pantry and we secured student support as a BCIT SA community for increased investments in this program over the coming year. Most importantly, we are constantly advocating to BCIT and the government around parking affordability, student aid, better regulation of international tuition, and increased mental health support.
And as far as I understand, that's the responsibility of VP External to lobby for those things.
Correct.
I know that's not your role, but can you briefly give us a sentence or two to summarize what your colleague does?
So Jimmy, the VP External, he goes on lobby trips with the government relations strategist Stuart. And in those trips, they are purposeful trips where they advocate for students in meetings with government officials.
I'm sure it's very tiring to do so, but I appreciate Jimmy doing that on our behalf. We'll get to the nitty-gritty part. I've heard some rumors that some students feel there is a disconnect between the student association and the students themselves. Do you think that is the case?
We can always do better. And this is top of mind during my presidency. Students connect with us for appointments with advocacy specialists for support with wellness and navigating BCIT educational policies. Also, students enjoy connecting with career specialists as they help give them that extra boost that they need in their careers and connect them with employers at career fairs. We form a council with student representatives across all schools and campuses. Therefore, I strive to find ways to motivate students to join, especially where students can directly have their say and shape the direction of the SA. BCIT attends student consultations with us throughout the year, so this is a great way to let them know what challenges and suggestions you have.
And for want students to get involved and to really voice their opinions, how can they do that? I believe, as far as I know, anyone can sit on the council meetings. Is that correct?
That is correct. Everyone is welcome. We have food. And yeah, it's one of the best ways to stay in the know in what's happening in the student community.
SA itself, there was a 5-year plan called Raising the Bar. What does that mean to you specifically, Celine?
Raising the bar means putting in the work to match words to action. For instance, we want to engage with more students by having more student-facing events throughout the year. Doing so will increase our presence at BCIT and student engagement at times such as the AGM and elections. Our new strategic plan will require everyone to work together in January to determine how we move forward into the future to enhance student life.
And what do you hope will be accomplished by 2024 with this plan?
I hope that students will be able to see our presence and feel that we are here to support them.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the BCIT students listening today?
At the BCIT SA, you choose how you want to be involved. You can join one of our 40-plus clubs, attend Kickstart and Welcome Back events, sign up as a set rep or counselor, or go to our website to learn about all the great services we offer. Please reach out to us if you have questions or concerns and send us your ideas. We are an inclusive and welcoming organization, pet-friendly too.
That is true. I've seen so many cute doggies running around. But I personally lobby for more cats. I'm a cat person. We need more cats.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you can't tell them where to go, so that's probably the only hiccup. But to end things off on a maybe slightly lighter note, do you have any advice for upcoming students? A lot of people are starting in September. What do you think a new student at BCIT should know?
At BCIT, there are so many people that would like to help you and so many resources here. And no one is ever going to turn you away if you say you're not okay. And yeah, we are a supportive community and we really want to see our students thrive.
I think it takes effort to reach out, which is why there might be a sort of barrier when it comes to it. But I can say from personal experience, it is worth it. If there is anything, an issue going on, and even if it's not really related to student life, you can always find resources. I personally encourage every listener to really reach out to people. We're only an email away, really, so.
Yeah.
And you can book appointments with Celine and other executives as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So each executive holds their office hours, and one way to find out when we're available is to go on our website and click the link to book an appointment with us. Or even if you just see us in the hallway, talk to us. We're happy to chat.
So now you know how Celine sounds like. So if you hear her voice, you know who she is. That's what it's like, hi, Celine. But thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that the September will be off to a great start. It sounds like a lot of is cooking up, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, like I said, I want to make BCIT fun again.
To continue discussing changes at the Student Association, I sat down with Roland Gagel, the Director of Finance and Interim Executive Director for the SA. He and I discussed what his two current roles entail, how they play into one another, what their differences are, and what they do to make the student life better. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Roland. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Roland Gagel, and I am the Director of Finance and the Interim Executive Director for the Student Association of BCIT.
So, Director of Finance is your main role, correct?
That is correct.
Can you tell me more about your main role?
I've been with the Student Association since 2003, so 20 years now, and my role as the Director of Finance is to oversee the finance and accounting and administration of the Student Association.
And in terms of being Interim Executive Director, how does that look like for you?
I get a lot more emails on a daily basis now. So in terms of the role of the executive director, it's overseeing the operations of all of the staff and acting as a liaison, as a liaison to the board and council. So assisting and supporting them and translating their objectives down to the staff and trying to achieve the goals that they want to have.
And in that position, do you integrate with all of the levels of the Student Association, or is it more of a relay between the board and the employees of the Student Association?
There's obviously a team of people. I don't talk to everybody individually. In totality, the Student Association has about 100 staff, so I don't talk to everyone, and many of the staff are involved with serving the students at our retail stores and things.
Right.
But so I mean, I don't manage all the staff directly. There's a team of directors that I directly liaison with or chat with and inform them or inform them of the board's wishes and just manage the operations from that point.
And how long have you been in this interim role?
Since June.
Okay. And combining this and your main role of Director of Finance, what does your day in your life look like?
It's answering a lot more emails than I used to be doing. And trying to fit in the Director of Finance duties some of which I've downloaded a little bit to the controller of the Student Association. Everyone's pitching in as best they can to help me out. It's an awful lot, and I certainly don't mind doing it for the benefit of the Student Association. So I certainly can't do it by myself. All of the staff are helping me out as best they can.
And I did hear Little Bird say that you do bike to work.
Do bike to work most days.
Most days. That's a nice start to your routine. Is there anything else that you like in your daily routine to break up the busyness?
Well, I try to make sure I have lunch.
That's always good.
That's always good. Other than that, no, it's bike to work to sort of get some fresh air and get going, and then it's doing the work and trying to answer emails, try to reach out to staff, talk to staff directly. I try not to sit at my desk too much. I do like to chat with people because I find it's a more informative way to bring the team together and sort of move things forward. So yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like the students to know about you and the Student Association?
I've been with the Student Association for 20 years, as I said. I've seen a tremendous amount of growth in the Student Association since I started. It is a completely different organization since when I started in 2003, but the mission has always stayed the same. All of the staff are dedicated to tagline. It's not just a tagline, it's the mission of the Student Association, which is enhancing student life. I'm always striving to make the Student Association better, but always better in the sense of trying to make things better for students, because the students are the members of the Student Association.
And how does that betterment look like in the next 5 years for you?
Well, there's a number of projects on the table in the short term in improving the food pantry, food security program. We've recently hired a food security coordinator as per the referendum that was passed last spring by the students. So enhancing that program, part of the objectives of that program is to bring it to the other campuses where possible. How that is actually going to look is still to be determined, but we're working on that because we fully understand the need of food security exists at all campuses. We're still working on with BCIT to determine where additional space for the Student Association could be on campus. That is part of the mandate of the Student Association. And so that's still in the works. It's taking a little longer than we anticipated just because of the complexity of the negotiations with BCIT and the need to find the space and then to pay for it. We are collecting a new building fee to facilitate the building of a new space or acquiring a new space, however that may be, and there's just a lot. It's a complex thing, so we're still working on that. And then just in general, just trying to strive that all of our services are a little bit better every year, and make the delivery of services to students more efficient, more effective, and of more value to students.
And you talked about the consequences of the referendum. Is there any other ripple effect that students may not notice in their daily life?
With respect to the food security program, we brought that forward. It was brought forward by council to the students, and they voted in a positive manner to increase the fee as it relates specifically to the food security program, and now we're just rolling that out. The ripple effect there is just to be of benefit to students because the students found that to be of value. I can't really think of any other ripple effects. It's just all in the package or mandate to enhance student life.
And I talked to Celine about involving more student events. Is that something you're currently working on, or is it something that you don't oversee as much?
I am certainly working on it, not directly, but the council and the board has communicated that wish to me to have more actual student life on campus in terms of events, and I've communicated that to the other staff, and we are working on that. So, for instance, we did have the party at the pub on September 22nd, which was quite successful, and we've heard from students that they enjoyed that very much, and that seemed to go well. And we're in the process of planning another party for Halloween, and probably another kind of a party at the end of November. And we intend to continue planning more events, both bigger events and smaller events, to provide more life on campus.
What was some of the feedback that you received from the students during the Habitat Pub party?
Generally positive. They all seem to have a good time. There was some pickup on the Uber rides that we provided to students for the night of the party. We intend to do that again. With respect to the Halloween party, it was generally well received, and everything went reasonably smoothly. There weren't really any major hiccups as far as I'm aware. So it was generally positive. We're just trying to, for the Halloween party, to expand it a little bit and make it an even bigger event. I'm not going to share any details because that's going to come out in the next week or two, the details as it relates to that. But we're just trying to make the next party bigger and better, more fun.
Will you dress up?
Will I dress up? I hadn't thought about that yet.
That's fair enough. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I hope those two interviews were very insightful for you folks, because they were for me, and I work for the Student Association. Oh, but speaking of, you can check out more Student Association content, events, and things that are happening in the area on the Instagram at BCITSA. Same with Link. Our Instagram is at LinkBCIT. Also, check out our TikTok, run by yours truly. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and I will see you in the next one.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Earth.